This is Jill with the Carefree Kitchen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a top round roast. This is an herb crusted top round roast, and it is so tender and so delicious. It's the perfect holiday roast. Okay, so to get started on your herb crusted roast, these are the ingredients you're going to need. Okay, so I have a top round roast, you can see there, and I have about 3 pounds. And the top round roast is really lean and flavorful, and it's from the same area of the cow as a London broil. But it usually lacks fat and some marbling. So as you can see here, it's a pretty lean cut of meat, and that's why we're going to be doing this herb crusted top on it, which is made with some butter and some fresh herbs and spices. This is some fresh rosemary, thyme, and sage. And so we're gonna make kind of this compound butter here, along with some minced garlic, some onion powder, some fresh ground pepper, and then of course salt. And then I always like to roast my beef roast with some fresh root vegetables. So I have some carrots and celery and some potatoes here. So there are my ingredients. Oh, and I should also say this roast is actually good for like a sirloin roast or rump roast. This recipe will work well for those cuts too. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is to preheat your oven to about 425 degrees. Okay, so we are going to start with just a sprig of each of these herbs. So that is the sage. Here's some thyme. And then also some rosemary. Maybe a couple of those. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse these off real quick. Okay, and then we'll just pat them dry here. Okay. So the first one I'm going to do is the sage, and I'm just going to pull off each one of these big leaves. And we want about a teaspoon of each of the fresh herbs. So I'm just gonna slice this very thin here. Oh, these fresh herbs smell so good. Okay, just set that one aside. And then I'm just going to take this off. And you can use maybe even just some rosemary and thyme would be super yummy on this recipe. That's also a great combination. Sometimes sage is hard to find. So whatever herbs you can find, use those. I just found these in the produce department at my supermarket. They're pretty easy to find these days, but they're also pretty easy to grow. I just have a pot actually outside on my deck with fresh herbs, but of course it's wintertime right now, and so they are not growing yet, but they're really fun to use in recipes. Okay, I'm just gonna chop this up really finely. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside. And then for the thyme, if you will, just grab it here at the tip and then pull down against, like this is the tip and this is the bottom here. So if you kind of go against the stem, they come off so much easier. So you just pull it here a little bit. It's really tender at the top. So pull it and then you'll discard this little stick here and just use the leaves. And also the tender part at the top is fine to use too. There we go. And I just need enough for about a teaspoon of this. Okay, so here's the tip, and I will just pull that down. Okay, then I'm gonna give this kind of a loose chop as well. Okay, so here is my roughly teaspoon of the thyme. I'm gonna put in there a teaspoon of rosemary and then also a little bit of sage here. Okay, and now we'll just take that. Okay, so I have 1/3 of a cup of butter here, and this is room temperature butter, which is really important. And then I'm just going to add in my fresh herbs, about a teaspoon of each. And then also into this, I'm going to add some garlic, and I just have the jarred stuff on hand right now. So about 4 teaspoons. You can use fresh or the jarred stuff, it's fine. And then we'll just take this butter and mash it up along with all of the herbs and the fresh garlic. Okay, and then I just have my casserole dish here, and I am going to add my beef. And sometimes on this top round roast, it'll have a piece of fat on top. And if you have that, then you're going to want to put that on top. And this one does not. It does have some marbling and some fat here, and I'm just going to leave that. So I'm going to put it in a 9x13 baking dish, or even a roasting pan if you have a roasting pan. Okay, and in my compound butter, I actually forgot to add, I need about a teaspoon of onion powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in too. Perfect. So that's all mixed up here. All right, and then I'm going to salt and pepper my roast. So just gonna do that kind of on all sides here. Wash my hand real quick. And just lightly salt and pepper it. This will help tenderize it as well. And then to prepare the vegetables, I'm just going to give the carrots a quick little peel here. I'm gonna cut the tips off here. Cut these tips off. And then just put them in a couple inch pieces. That'll be good. And then for the potatoes, you're just gonna wanna wash them and then cut them up into, I don't know, you can even just half them. They're gonna have plenty of time to roast in the oven. And if there's little chunks here you need to take out, no problem. Red potatoes would work great for this. Russet potatoes would work. I just have these yellow Yukons on hand, so I'm gonna use those. Okay, and then I also am going to slice up a little bit of an onion. Just peel that off, okay, and then I'll just quarter the onions. Okay, set that aside here for a minute. Okay, so back to the roast. I just have my butter here, and I'm just going to put some of it on here and then spread it around a little bit. You can use your hands for this, you can use a fork, so just use whatever you like. I usually like to use maybe a little bit of a combination of both. You want to get the butter and all the herbs around the edges because it creates this fun little crust on top of your roast. And the top round roast is pretty lean, so this butter adds a little bit of flavor and then also a lot of moisture, which is really nice. And then it also makes a fantastic gravy too. Okay, so you're probably not going to be able to cover the whole thing, but you can just get it pretty loosely and kind of, you know, all over your roast. And then the next thing you're going to do is we want to season those vegetables too. Okay, so the same bowl that you had your butter in, just go ahead and drop your vegetables in. That'll be good. And now we're going to just put a couple tablespoons of olive oil or avocado oil on them, and then give them a little bit of salt and pepper and a little teaspoon of garlic. And now we're just going to toss that around a little bit, get olive oil all over those, so nice and shiny. And then we'll just put them into our dish with the roast. So So you want to add your vegetables. You don't want it to be super packed in. You want it to still be pretty loose, or else it's gonna take your roast a little bit longer to cook. So now we're going to put it in a 425-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Our roast has been cooking for about 30 minutes at 425. Now we're gonna slow this down and cook it for another 90 minutes or so at 325 degrees. Okay, so I just checked the internal temperature of my roast. I'm wanting mine to be about medium. So mine's about 140, so it should be just a little bit pink in the middle. But there's that nice herb crust on top. It's just a little bit crunchy. You see all of that yummy garlic, all those fresh herbs and spices. And then the vegetables also have a little bit of coloring here, which is just right. Okay, the next step I need to do is cover it loosely with foil for just about 10 minutes. The best way to do a top round roast is low and slow, and we should have some nice tender and juicy top round roast beef. All right, so the roast has had just a few minutes here to rest. We'll cut into it and see what it looks like inside. That looks perfect. We have just a little bit of pink there in the middle. It's tender and juicy, and you can smell all of those fresh herbs and spices. Check that out. This is an herb crusted top round roast, and you are going to love the crusty layer on top with garlic and fresh herbs and spices. It's the perfect holiday roast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Carefree Kitchen, and please follow me on social media, on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. And I hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye!